What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 12, Settling In or Just Settling. So we start off with Katina and Olajuwon. So last week they had this huge blowout fight because Olajuwon discovered a dating app on Katina's phone, and he confronted her with it, and he questioned on how serious she was about this whole process, about being married, so on and so forth. And Katina was trying to explain to him that it was an old dating app, that she hasn't used it in I don't know how long, and that she is committed to the whole process and she is committed to him. And she wasn't even active on that account. I think when they opened up the app, it started off with the login page or the sign in page, which shows that it was supposed to prove that she hasn't been on that account. And so he's not trying to hear it. He's just loud. He's over talking her. He's not letting her explain herself properly. And then I think he even said to her something like, well, what if it was me that had the dating app? And I think she said, if it was you that had the dating app, and if you had explained to me that it was an old app that you weren't using anymore, I would not even react the way that you're reacting. But there's nothing that could calm Olajuwon down. So he gets frustrated. She gets frustrated. And so she ends up leaving the apartment and she walks over to Jasmina's and Michael's apartment. So she's explaining to them what's been going on with Olajuwon and the dating app on her phone. And then she even explained to them that when he clicked on the app, it was just the login page, and she had, proven that she hadn't used it in a long time. And so then Katina says in her confessional that Olajuwon was supposed to work on his tone, but it's not getting any better. I mean, he was like really upset. And so, and he was talking to her, just yelling at her like a parent would yell at a child or something, not even like trying to have a conversation. Like I've always said, you can have disagreements with whoever. Y'all can be like in a heated disagreement. It should never resort to yelling and screaming and talking over each other. You can still communicate your thoughts and express yourself without just going completely over the top. And it's just a sign of immaturity to me when someone just feels like, they just have to start yelling and shouting, especially when Katina wasn't even yelling or shouting. It was him that was just like, we are married. You are my wife. And it's like, you can express yourself, Olajuwon, without completely losing control of yourself. So during the conversation with Jasmina and Michael, Katina starts to cry, and Jasmina says in her confessional that to see her crying just shows that she was very affected by what happened between her and Olajuwon, because Katina normally doesn't cry. So then Michael goes to talk to Olajuwon, and Olajuwon tells Michael that until Katina apologizes and takes full responsibility, which I felt like she did, unless he was trying to imply that she was using the app while she was married to him, unless that's what he wants to hear from her, she did take responsibility. She says, yes, I haven't, the app is on my phone, but I haven't deleted it, but I haven't been using it either. Like, what else do you want her to say? What other responsibility is she supposed to take? So he tells Michael that until she apologizes and takes full responsibility, anything she says is just an excuse. Then Michael says, well, if she says that she forgot that she had the app, because she's got like over 100 apps on her phone, do you believe her, or would you believe her? And Olajuwon says that Katina is a smart woman and she knows what she's doing. Like, what does that even mean? Like, what are you implying? Are you saying that you have a dating app because in the near future you plan on using it because you're not happy with me? Like, what exactly are you accusing her of doing? A lot, like I was just so lost when he said that she's a smart woman and she knows what she's doing. As in what? Preparing for not being with you. Already made up her mind that she doesn't want to be married to you, so she wants to have her apps all in place so she can get back on the dating scene. What is she doing? So then Michael says, do you not trust her? And Olajuwon says that he sees her differently now. I wish he would have expanded on that or expounded on that. Like, how do you see her differently? Like, you see her as what? A cheating woman? A woman who's married but still wants to meet men on dating apps? Like, how do you see her differently now? And then Michael says, if she gives you the apology, could you move forward? And then all he can say to him is, I see her differently now. As what? What do you see her differently as? Maybe she has changed, but explain to us what the hell you're talking about. So then, the next time that we see Katina and Olajuwon, they make a joint video together, and they say that they worked on their dating app issue, and that's been resolved. She apologized to him. I'm not sure why she would apologize. Does she have to apologize because she forgot, which is completely human to forget? So she had to apologize for being human and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry that I forgot to delete my dating app before I came here." Is that what she apologized for? And Katina says that she finally understood where Lajwan was coming from, and she apologized previously, and then she says that she apologized again while they're making the video. She was apologizing again to him, and then Olajuwon says that he has to learn how to control his emotions better, and he apologized to Katina for the tone that he used and how he was talking to her, so that now they say that they're going to be moving forward and they appreciate each other. To me, that was all fake. I'm so sorry, y'all. It was just all fake. They were doing what they feel like they were supposed to be doing. I don't know how genuine it really was. So then Olajuwon meets with his old coach, and he tells the coach about the whole dating app situation, and the coach tells him, you need to control your temper. You need to control the things that you say. And so the coach, he knows the what's up. He knows how Olajuwon can get, and that temper of his is going to derail his marriage. Not some old dusty dating app. It's going to be that temper of his. So then Katina meets with her sister-in-law, Anna. And I guess Anna, has to be brought up to speed with what's been going on. I don't think Anna was at the wedding or anything, because Katina says, "Well, let me show you pictures of him," as if Anna hasn't seen him yet. So Katina starts showing pictures of Olajuwon to her sister-in-law. And then as the sister-in-law is looking at the pictures, the sister-in-law says, "Well, can you show me a picture of him without his shirt?" I was like, "What?" Excuse me? What? Okay, I'm assuming that this is Katina's sister-in-law, as in she's married to Katina's brother or sister, and you want to see your sister-in-law's husband, a picture of him without his shirt on. That was bizarre, and I thought it was inappropriate. And so the sister-in-law got right down to it. She was like, "Well, have y'all consummated the marriage?" And once again, Katina has to say no, they have not consummated the marriage. And I feel like whenever people ask her that question, she wants to answer it as if she's not bothered by why they haven't consummated the marriage, but you can tell that she's bothered. You can tell that beneath that surface of her trying to keep it together, there's some cracks there. She's kind of worried about that, because Katina is a very attractive woman, and I'm still lost in the sauce as far as why Olajuwon hasn't taken that step with her. And his excuse is that he wants to connect with her emotionally, but it seems like they don't really do much of anything in that realm. It might have to be, it doesn't have to be, the full consummation of it, but it seems like there's like absolutely no progress in that department with them, which is so crazy, because they're young, they're, very vibrant, good looking, healthy, normal people. What is the deal? Anyways, so she tells him about the dating app fight, and then Katina says that she has to be more calm when he gets mad. And I was like, "Katina, no, you don't. You were already calm." When they had that argument, it didn't seem like Katina was the one that was losing control, or that she was the one that's getting elevated. There were times when she did raise her voice because he was so damn loud. She had to like get louder just for her to be heard, because he was not letting her talk. And it was just, I didn't think it was necessary for her to say that she has to be more calm. You don't have to. She was calm. She didn't do anything wrong. And she's the one that's always having to adjust herself to please him. She has to be more calm when he goes off the deep end. She has to be the one to learn how to cook. She has to be the one to learn how to, she's the one that's always making adjustments of herself to please him. So the next time that we see them, no, they weren't cooking, they ordered takeout. And, It looks like for someone who loves home cooking and wants a cooked meal every single night, they do eat a lot of takeout. So they order some takeout, and I think it was Mexican food. And then Katina says to him that she needs to learn how to make better rice and beans. Here we go again with Katina trying to impress him, trying to adjust to his needs and his wants, and him not really. I haven't heard Olajuwon say anything about what he needs to do to adjust himself to please her. And in his confessional, Olajuwon says that I have a woman who's funny and brilliant, and I really love our marriage. But it doesn't seem like it. It doesn't seem like it at all to me. She's funny, she's brilliant. So why do you treat her like this? Why are you shouting at her? I don't care that you had an issue about the dating app. That's fine. Whatever issue you had, it was an issue that you had. That's fine that it bothered you, but there is a way to talk to people without screaming and yelling at them. You can have a disagreement. All day and all night long. You don't have to resort to yelling and screaming to another adult. That's just absurd to me. And I think it's also like a sign of immaturity. So you're yelling and screaming at her. You're constantly trying to change her. You're trying to mold her into becoming your perfect wife. You're hardly letting her really be herself. You're always trying to tell her what you want and how you want it done and what she needs to do to change and what she needs to do to be a better wife. But what adjustments are you making, Olajuwon? What are you doing to make yourself the husband that she's been dreaming of her whole life? I don't know. This is a very one-sided type of marriage where it's always Katina bending over backwards to please Olajuwon, and it doesn't seem like Olajuwon is doing much to please her. She said that she was ready to go with as far as consummating the marriage. You know, she's ready to go in that department, and he can't even satisfy her with that. Moving on to Noy and Steve. So they start off by taking Noy's dog to the groomers, and then Mark and Steve end up hanging out, and they're at the beach, and they're throwing a football back and forth, and Steve is telling Mark that because they were talking about the whole how Mark is not working right now. And so Steve says, well, since we're talking about working and making a living, that is like a big priority. That's what Steve said. He says that working and making a living was a big priority as he's throwing this football back and forth with Mark. And I'm like, okay, you believe that working and making a living is a big priority, but whenever Noy brings it up, I mean, it's you act like you're allergic to the whole discussion of working. I mean, he acts like, in the old movies when someone would show like was it a cross or something to Dracula, and the way he would recoil and like shrink away. That's how he acts whenever Noy talks about him going to work. It's like he just recoils, and it's like, anyways. So he says in his confessional that he has plenty of savings, and he's contributing 3 to 4 times more than Noy is. So if that's the case, okay, I think the whole issue with Noy and Steve and him not working is just the fact that she doesn't care how much money he has in savings. He can have $10 million in savings. She just wants to see him doing something productive. If he had that much in savings, where he can live comfortably for a year, 2 years, 3 years, with a wife and possibly children, she just wants him to do something productive, even if it's like maybe even just volunteering. She just wants him to do something productive. But he says he's contributing 3 to 4 times as much as Noy is. And Steve says that if he got a job, y'all, I could not believe what I was hearing. There are times when I really like Steve, and then there are times when he says the most bizarre things, and I look at him completely in a different light, and I don't like what I'm seeing. And he's a charming guy. He's a funny guy. He's like, he seems like he has a really nice personality. He seems to be really down to earth. But then there are times when he says things that are just so out of left field, like when Steve said, so he says if he got a job, he wouldn't have the creative energy to dream of a future together. What? What do you mean creative energy? What does that even mean? And if you do need to think out and plan and carve out this future for you and Noy, then do it on your commute to and from a job. Do it when you're going night night and you're laying in bed at night about to fall asleep. Think about how to plan your future during those times. You don't have to be home 24 hours a day to think of a plan for your future. Steve, he also says that if he gets a job, it will stifle what him and Noy could create together. I have no idea what that means. Why can't you do both simultaneously? Like, why can't you go to work and dream and fantasize whatever the hell you want to dream and fantasize about? You don't have to like completely pump the brakes on being productive just to plan a future for you and Noy. So, okay, like I said, they were taking the dog to the groomer, and then after that, the next time that we see them together, they're taking the dog for a walk. And it seems like Noy is kind of bossy. So, I truly believe that Noy has developed a lot of resentment towards Steve because this is not the husband that she envisioned, a husband who doesn't work. And so, she is developing a lot of resentment, and now she's basically treating him like he's her little bitch, basically, because in this episode she was bossing him around a lot, and you could tell that she was doing it from the point of view of resentment, of anger, of disappointment. Not like it's just in her character to boss people around. She was doing this to make him feel, to emasculate him, basically. So they're out taking the dog for a walk, and anything to do with the dog, she was bossing him around. She was telling him what to do. Like, he was the one that had to like hold the leash. He was the one that had to pick up the dog's poop. And Steve says in his confessional that he's taken more ownership of Sushi, but it wasn't his responsibility because he wasn't the one that brought the damn dog into the marriage. But he's the one that's taken the most care of Sushi. And he says that he was hoping to get more appreciation from Noy, the fact that he didn't even really want a dog, period. But now he's really stepping up to the plate with Sushi. But instead of appreciation, she kind of has an air of expectation, like she just expects him to do all this stuff for her dog. Noy tells him to so they after they walk the dog, they come inside, and she tells him to start cooking. She basically tells him, okay, those potatoes over there, you can start, peeling them and fixing them, while she did absolutely nothing. And so Steve says in his confessional that the same way that she feels unsure about his employment status, Steve feels the same way of he feels unsure of how much she's going to contribute to the relationship. So after they have breakfast, she tells him to clean the bathroom. So she told him, to deal with the dog. She told him to start cooking. Then when they were done cooking, she tells him, okay, now you have to go clean the bathrooms. And he suggests that they split the bathroom duties. Or if she doesn't want to split the bathroom duties, then they can split the dog duties. And she says no to both of that. She's like, no, you're going to clean both of the bathrooms, and I'm not going to split the dog duties, or whatever she said. And so Noy says that he should do it all because she's the one that's working. And this is like a major, major, major issue. And I don't know why they haven't resolved it or come to some agreement. And they just kind of tiptoe around the issue. So she has all of this resentment towards her husband, and he's not willing just to tell her what he plans on doing. If you just tell her, I don't plan on working. And if you don't want to be with a man that doesn't work, then we can't be together. Simple as that. I don't plan on going to work. My plan was to stay not working for 2, 3, 4 years or whatever he wants to do. And then if that's not what she wants, then y'all go your separate ways. Simple as that. It's not like you have this deep, deep love for each other and you've built like years and years and years of history with each other. No, y'all just met. It's okay if you realize at this stage that it's not going to work out, but don't dehumanize, don't emasculate, don't emotionally abuse your partner because you're not getting what you want. You're not getting what you thought you signed up for. If y'all don't mesh, y'all have completely different plans for the future, that's fine. Just go your separate ways. Y'all barely know each other. So Noy says that it's always a discussion of what I'm not doing, but not what he's not, because you're not bringing up that discussion, Noy. If y'all are always talking about, if he's always pointing out what you're not doing, he has no problem letting that girl know what she's not doing enough of. Then verbalize your concerns and tell him, I cannot stand the fact that you're not working. This is not going to work for me. So later on, they have a discussion about life after decision day. And this is when they're sitting in their living room and we're seeing the footage through the security camera. And Noy says that she's not ready to move in with him after decision day. And he is completely confused and befuddled by this. And he's like, why not? And she's, I'm just not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with us combining our lives together completely. What she really was talking about was obviously she doesn't want to live with him if he's not going to work, and she doesn't want to combine their finances. So Steve says, well, it's like we're married. So, like, if we live in separate homes, how is that being married? And I'm like, Noy, you're married. This is not a test. This is not a quick little run through, a rehearsal. This is real life. This is your husband. This is what's happening. If you don't really see yourself living with him after decision day, then on decision day, just get a divorce. Get a divorce. You can't. And then she also has the nerve to say, well, there's a lot of couples, a lot of married couples that live in separate homes and it works out fine for them. That's what you signed up for. That's what you wanted, Noah. You wanted to be in a marriage where you don't live with your husband in the same home. That's what you were seeking this whole entire time. So she just gives him really vague answers about why she doesn't want to live with him. And she doesn't think that she doesn't think that it's weird at all that a married couple would live in separate homes. And it was just bizarre. It's like, stop tap dancing or tiptoeing around the issue and just tell him, I cannot be married to a man that is not going to work every single damn day. I can't do it. So if that's not your vision, it's my vision. And if our visions are not meshing, adios, sayonara, see you later. So then later on, Noi meets with her sister Sriracha, which is, okay, so she meets with her sister Sriracha, and they talk about the positive stuff first, and then she tells her sister that, yeah, we went on a picnic, and he told me he loves me, all that emotional stuff. So then the negative stuff is centered around Steve not working and the delegation of the household duties. So Noi says that she doesn't feel comfortable combining income, so she can clearly vocalize her issues, with her sister, but not with her own husband, who she's having the issue with. So she says that because she jumped the gun in a previous relationship, she's super cautious now. Well, you did jump the gun in this one too, because you got married to a stranger. You got married on site. So you also jumped the gun here too. This is the biggest example of jumping the gun I've ever seen in my life. You got married sight unseen. You went on a 1 week honeymoon with a complete stranger, and y'all started living together after that. This is really jumping the gun, Noy. So her sister says that she never has known Noy to date a guy like Steve. And Noy says, yeah, I wouldn't date a guy like Steve. And then the sister says, okay, but you married a guy like Steve. So what are you going to do? And then she says she was so frustrated that she called her sister by her sister's, birth given name, Michael, because Sriracha is actually, her brother, who's also, I guess, he is also, I guess, like a trans woman. So at first it was Sriracha, and then when the conversation got too heated, she calls him by his birth name, Michael. And so Noy, so that really didn't end well. So Steve talks to his sister-in-law, and Steve says that Noy wants to stay in her own apartment after decision day, and that she sent out another cryptic message on social media, which he absolutely cannot stand it when she does that, because he doesn't want her broadcasting their problems on social media. And so the last time this happened, she told him that she wouldn't do it again, and it seems like she has. And so when he questioned her about that, she says that the cryptic message was not about them, it was about something else. The lies you tell, Noy, the lies you tell. which I thought was, I was like, so passive aggressive, and it's just so dumb. Like, why can't you just talk to this man and tell him this is what I want, and if you can't give it to me, I'm out of here. And then he says, well, this is what I want, and if you can't give it to me, I'm out of here. Simple as that. Stop acting like y'all have been married 35 years and y'all have come to the crossroads of your marriage, and you have to make this life-changing decision, and you just don't know how you're going to do it because, y'all have lived as one for 35 years. Y'all just freaking met. So, moving on to Lindsay and Mark. So, Lindsay, in her confessional, she says that even though Mark is an only child and he's really set in his ways, he makes time for her and he figures out ways to fit her in his life. So, it starts off kind of positive with these people. So, Mark had a whiteboard and he was writing down the week's goals on the whiteboard, and he was conferring with Lindsay, and she was tweaking it a little bit. So they were working together on this whiteboard for their weekly goals. And they suggested also doing like a movie night, and Lindsay asked him, well, when we have our date night or movie night, is it okay if you don't have your phone with you so that we you can just focus on us? And he was cool with that. He was like, sure, no problem. So then they go grocery shopping. The budget is $150 for grocery shopping. So Mark gets a little bit perturbed by the fact that Lindsay wants to immediately start getting all the fruits and vegetables. I don't know if it's because fruits and vegetables are generally more expensive than the processed foods, or if it was because he just doesn't like fruits and vegetables. But whatever fruit or whatever vegetable she was suggesting, he didn't like it, he didn't want it, he wasn't having it. And then they ended up being over budget. And then he got upset about that. And I'm like, Mark, just relax. If you're going to go over budget on anything, I'd rather go over budget on groceries than, on Amazon. So that's Mark and Steve. They're out doing their thing, playing their football. And now let me talk about what was going on with Mark. So Steve asks Mark, how has he adjusted working from home? And then Mark says, I'm not working from home. I'm taking a leave of absence because his filming schedule was conflicting with his work schedule. So he couldn't work and film for the show at the same time. So him and his employer agreed for him taking a leave of absence. And I was like, why would Steve think that Mark was working from home unless he was told by Mark or someone else that he was working from home? And I'm wondering if that's what they're telling people to explain why he's not going to work. They're just telling people that he's working from home. So Steve asks, well, how does Lindsay feel about you not working? And he says, oh, she's okay with it because it gives him the opportunity to find a better paying job. Okay, so then Lindsay makes a video and she says that her and Mark are not doing well. The issue is that he cannot take any accountability. She says that Mark didn't follow through with their plans on the whiteboard. And she said that he's very wishy-washy about looking for a job in Boston. He was supposed to move to Boston, work in Boston, and he's kind of like backtracking on that. And she says that he can't do a checkpoint. I don't know what she meant by the checkpoint. I don't know what she meant by that. And so then they talk about, and then any talk about the future, he doesn't want to even, discuss that. They can't even have a discussion about the future because he can't even stay within budget with the rent or whatever issues that she was having with him. She says that he has no consistency and he has no follow through. And then there's a footage of them arguing about laundry. He had put her clothes in the dryer when he wasn't supposed to, and then she got upset with him. And then she brings up everything else about he can't follow through with the whiteboard goals, and then they talk about their intimacy issues. And then she says that he shows more love to the cats than he does to her. And she says that he is no man of mine. He's not even these people are not good together. Lindsay and Mark are not good together at all. At all. So then he meets with his friend Erica, and they talk about communication problems. Says that he tells his friend that Lindsay has a very tough exterior and that Mark is not ready to talk about the future. Like whenever she wants to talk about kids and where they're going to live and whatever else, he says he's not there yet with her. And the friend says that Lindsay is not wrong about inquiring about the future because y'all are married and this is what married people talk about, and he's just not there. And he says that Mark is not at the point now where he can say, like, you know what, I just can't live without her. I love her so. He just doesn't have those feelings for her. He doesn't have any kind of romantic notion for her at all. So then Lindsay plans a photo shoot, and she has the cats dressed up in little shark costumes, and she's got, a photographer coming over to take the pictures, and then they get into a fight. Mark comes home, and they get into some kind of a stupid fight. I don't even know about what. So he tries to tell her that he wants to talk about their communication or their lack of communication. And he's I don't even know what his issues were, but he's like trying to talk about their communication problems. Then she starts talking about his lack of accountability, and the part that he plays in the breakdown of their communication. He says something like, when you have a problem with me, you don't talk to me, you just talk at me, and I don't respond to that, and I just shut down when you talk at me, or whatever he was saying. But bottom line is, they get into this stupid argument, and then there was a time when she placed her hand on his arm, and he like he kind of jumped, like, I don't know, like he was just, it was so bizarre to me. It's like your wife is placing her hand on your arm and you jump 6 feet up into the air as if like what, her arm was like scalding hot or something. And he was like, just don't touch me. You don't have to touch me when you talk to me. And so she gets offended by that and she leaves. And the photographer shows up, and the photographer's ready to take pictures of them and these cats. And Lindsay is nowhere to be found. Lindsay finally shows up and she's like in a bad mood, but she tries to like, make it do, for the photographer. And as they sit down, and then, okay, before they even sat down to take the pictures, she wanted him to tell her, I want you to stay and take these pictures with me. I guess so she could feel wanted or something by him. I have no idea. So she says, do you want me to stay? Do you want me to take these pictures with you? And he's like, yes, I want you to stay and take these pictures. So they sit down, they take the pictures. The pictures came out fine, other than the fact there was like a ton of cat hair on his shirt. And I'm surprised that the photographer didn't notice that and ask him to like use like a lint roller to get that off. But he had like a ton of cat hair on his shirt. And so they take these bizarre pictures, and then it was just weird. The whole scene was so weird. I don't know what's wrong with these people. Lindsay and Mark are not good together. They're not good together. There's no hope for them. There is absolutely no hope. There might be these little bursts where they do get along, but they're very short lived, and they're very hot and cold, and they don't know, they have no idea on how to meet in the middle. And I don't understand, like every time when Lindsay would say, when I pull back, I pull all the way back. But I've yet to see her do that. If anything, it seems like she's the one that's always trying to extend the olive branch to him. And I don't know what's going on with these people. Moving on, Jasmina and Michael. So Jasmine doesn't know how to drive, and so Michael decides that he's going to help her get her license. And so he takes her out to drive, to teach her how to drive. And she says that, usually she's really nervous when she has to get behind the wheel, but being with Michael made her less nervous. And so then Jasmina speaks with her mother, and Mike has a conversation with his sister. And so these two conversations are going on simultaneously. And so they start off talking about how the good part, which is, their communication has improved tenfold. They're communicating with each other a whole lot better, and they really are. And but Jasmina says that after a month of being married, she still has no romantic feelings towards him. And then Mike tells his sister that physically they're at a standstill. And he says this is the longest that he has gone where he had to wait to be intimate with someone. And the sister suggests to slowly break the barrier and see how Jasmina responds. So like he should try to be romantic with her, take little baby steps and see how she responds to that. Jasmina tells her mom that her heart is open for those romantic feelings, but they just haven't come yet. And then Mike wants to feel like the effort he's putting in is going to be reciprocated. So that's what I'm like. Why don't y'all just try? Like, why don't you just try? Or, just try to do something romantic and physical. You don't have to do the whole shebang, but try to initiate a kiss or holding hands or cuddling in front of the television. Try to do that. I mean, I don't understand. Do you, for some people, and I guess, you know, that the norm is those feelings will come first and then you act on those feelings. And that's what she's waiting for. But maybe if you try to initiate the act, maybe the feelings will follow. I don't know. So then there's a moment where he's cooking for her. And there's a scene where he's over the stove and she's standing behind him and she's standing close enough to him where their bodies are actually touching. And I think she rests her chin on his shoulder. And this is as intimate as I have ever seen them. And I thought to myself, wow, they're making progress. This is like a step forward in the right direction. And so he tells her how he acknowledges, you know, the mistakes that he's made along the way with her and how he is attempting to correct that. And she appreciated the fact that he was acknowledging what he did wrong and that he is trying to fix it. So it kind of seemed like they are on the right track. But that scene where she was laying her chin on his shoulder and, you know, she was standing really, really close to him while he was cooking, I was like, maybe there's hope for these people yet. Maybe there's hope. Them not consummating their marriage makes more sense to me than Katina and Olajuwon, because they're just not there yet. With Katina and Olajuwon, it's easy to say that they're not there yet, but it seems like if it was any other girl, Olajuwon would be there. And Katina, she's been there. You know, she's been waiting for him at that finish line for the longest, and he hasn't shown up yet. So that is my review of Married at First Sight. Thank you so much for joining me, and if you made it this far, I really do appreciate it. Please don't forget to rate the video, and most definitely do not forget to subscribe, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.